Hi, my name's Sierra and you are watching Military Moves with Sierra. Today I'm going to share with you 7 simple steps to get you from wanting to sell your house to getting your house under contract and then finally actually selling your house. So if you're ready for 7 simple steps, let's get into it. All right, step 1 is going to be finding an agent. Now, you might think that when I say finding an agent, that sounds really hard, but I'm going to give you 2 really easy things to remember when you are looking for an agent. If you had an agent before and you really liked working with them, give them a call again. All right, that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is that you should never have to work with somebody that you don't want to work with. Okay, so find an agent that you enjoy talking to, that you know you can trust. It doesn't matter if it's your best friend or your best friend's an agent and it's not them. You need to pick somebody that you really want to work with and that you can trust to talk through financial situations, and that you know when, if it gets stressful, that you can lean back on them and that they are going to be able to help you get through this transaction as smoothly as possible. That is going to make a world of difference in your transactions. So find an agent, find a good one that you are comfortable with. That is the most important thing. You could have 30 years of experience, but if it's not somebody that you enjoy working with, that you feel like you can trust and really give a call and know that they're going to answer their phone, it's not the agent for you. Okay, so make sure that it's somebody that you enjoy talking to. All right, step number 2 is going to be meeting to talk over the details. So once you've picked out an agent, if you've, just given a few a phone call and you've kind of gotten a good feel for one of them and you found that agent, you want to sit down with them and you want to talk details. So this is where, if you didn't already talk about commissions, you're going to go ahead and talk about commissions. You're going to talk about how much you want to list your house for. You're going to talk about how much you want to get out of your house. And if you're a military family like my family, this is where you're going to talk about your timeline, because I know you have one. So this is a good time for you to sit down and talk about your timeline to make sure that your agent is going to be able to help you meet that timeline. And this is a time where your agent can tell you about the market and different things that you need to know before listing your house. Step number 3 is going to be preparing your home for listing. So I don't want you to overthink this step, but let's say that you bought a fixer-upper and the fixer-upper got kind of fixing, but maybe you didn't finish all the fixing. In that situation, if you have a bunch of projects around your house, this is a good time to go ahead and finish those projects. If you haven't even started the project, but it was on your list and you think maybe you should do it before listing, you need to talk to your real estate agent. And the reason I say that is because some things are not going to be worth your time or money to do before putting it on the market. And your agent will be able to tell you that based on their knowledge of your market. So go ahead and work on those things. And this is also a great time to declutter your house. And decluttering serves several purposes. I will name 3 for you. So decluttering your house is going to make your photos turn out better. If there's a lot of stuff and pictures, it tends to make rooms feel smaller and not quite as welcoming. So you want to minimize the stuff that's on top of your surfaces, and I say that like a true hypocrite because you can see all of my decor. I love ghosts. I love fall. I am recording this in the fall. So I have a lot of stuff. I have a little house back here that I painted. I have knickknacks and I love all my little decor and things. But if I were to take professional photos of my house, I would have to minimize this a little bit from what it is right now. So it's a good time to do that because of helping out with your photos. It's also going to be a wonderful time as far as helping you get a head start on packing, and it just overall it will help your house be easier to keep clean. You're not going to have to dust around as much, and you're just going to have generally less to worry about if you have less stuff when it comes time to start showing your property. So this is a good time to go ahead and start doing that. And like I said, finish up any projects that you had going on and talk to your agent about anything else that they may recommend for your house in particular. All right, so step 4 is photos. So every photographer, every real estate agent is going to handle this differently. But for me personally, I hire a photographer to come out and take pictures of my clients' houses. I think that this is the way to go because it's easiest for everybody. and I know that the work is going to turn out really well. So I hire a photographer, and if my clients feel it necessary, then I come over to the house, 30 minutes to an hour before we're going to get started on the pictures. I walk through and make sure that everything looks in place and nothing looks real wonky to me. I have had clients that didn't do hardly anything to get ready for pictures. I've had clients that have taken every family photo off the wall. They didn't want their family photos on the internet, and you have to be able to respect that, so they took every photo off the wall. I have had clients rearrange furniture. So don't overthink it too much, but also take your real estate agent's advice when it comes down to the photos and making sure that they're going to look the best that they possibly can. So that's step number 4, photos. All right, step number 5 is showings and negotiations. So your house is on the market, you're live, and you're starting to get people wanting to look at your house. So this can be one of the more stressful parts of selling your house, because you're having to go through showings. You have to leave the house when you have showings. If you have pets, then that can be a little difficult. If you have kids with, nap schedules and stuff, then sometimes this is more of like the headache portion. This is the fun part for buyers, but not so much for sellers. So you're going to have to be in and out of your house a lot. You have to keep your house kind of clean. It doesn't have to be perfect. They know you live there, okay? Especially if you have kids or pets, people know you live there, okay? But you want to try to keep your house kind of clean. You want to make sure that, you're kind of flexible with your schedule, but at the same time, you need to remember that this is still your home and that you don't have to bend over backwards for it, okay? So if it's right during your toddler's nap time, somebody calls you 15 minutes before the showing and says, hey, can I show your house? It's okay to say no, okay? So you gotta remember those things when it comes down to showings. And then as far as negotiations go, this is going to be highly dependent on your market. So your agent is going to be able to tell you what's going on in your market, and markets change. So whatever I tell you about our market right now may not be the same thing in the springtime. In fact, I could tell you for 100% certainty, it won't be. Markets are ever changing. So this is, when your agent is really going to be able to tell you like, hey, like these are the strong points, these are not, this is what you're going to net with this offer versus this one. And that's if you have multiple offers. It like I said, it is very dependent on your market. So negotiating is kind of part of the showing process, because if you are to get offers and things, then you're going to have to negotiate a little bit probably. So that's step number 5. Okay, so step number 6 is the inspection and appraisal. So you're under contract and you have a buyer who is so excited to buy your house, they're in love with it, and they can't wait for it to be theirs. The next step for them is going to be that they're going to have to schedule a home inspection. You do have to be out of the house for the home inspection. The buyer usually comes with their agent and the inspector. Sometimes buyers choose not to. Some agents don't come. It's really hit or miss. But for me personally, I go to every home inspection. I feel like that's the best way I could serve my clients. So they'll come to the home inspection, and this is where they're looking for anything that might be in need of repair. They're looking for deficiencies in your home. And it's not like they're, intentionally like, oh, like nitpicking your house, but they want to make sure they work for the buyer, and they want to make sure that the buyer is getting, a sound house. So they're going to check things like your heat and air. They're going to check things like your, all the light switches to make sure they work, make sure doors shut properly. I mean, anything in the house that is supposed to be functional, they're going to make sure that it is functioning appropriately. This is also where they're going to come to you and ask for any kind of repairs. So if they do find things on the inspection, this is where you're going to have to negotiate repairs with them. After the inspection is the appraisal. So these two things happen kind of quickly and kind of close together. So the appraisal is done on behalf of the buyer in order for them to obtain their loan. So if you have a loan on a property, then you have to, I don't know anybody that doesn't have an appraisal. And so when you have the appraisal done, it's basically an estimation of value. And so an appraiser is going to come out, and you do typically let the appraiser in to the home, and you're allowed to be home during the appraisal or not. It's usually, like I said, things vary across the country, and it really just depends on the transaction sometimes. So for the appraisal, usually the seller is home, lets them into the house, and the appraiser just walks around the house and does an estimation of value. They're looking at everything in your house. And so if you want the appraisal to come back for however much your buyer has said, hey, I'll buy your house for $300,000, you want the appraisal to be $300,000. You want to make sure that your house appraises. And there's not really any way for you to influence that. It's completely up to homes in your market and near you and the appraiser's judgment. So once your appraisal is done, then you get to move on to step 7. All right, so step 7 is closing. So between when your appraisal is done and inspection, appraisal, step number 6, between when that and closing happens, really the only things for you to do are pack and make sure that any kind of repairs that were negotiated, make sure that those are arranged and completed in a timely manner. And then on closing day, the buyer is going to have a final walkthrough and make sure everything looks good. And they usually do this right before closing. Some agents do it the day before. It really just depends, but most buyers do choose to have a final walkthrough. And then you go to the closing office. And so here in Georgia and South Carolina, we don't have title companies. We don't have land and abstract companies. We have attorney's offices. And so you go to the attorney's office, you're assigned a ton of paperwork, a ton. And then once you are done signing, you're going to hand over the keys and anything else that's pertinent to the property. And you sold your house. Now, I know that I make this process seem really simple, but that's kind of the goal. A lot of people, when you get ready to sell your house or buy a house, it seems really overwhelming. It can seem really daunting, and I don't want you to get into the situation where you're overwhelmed by it. So I try to make it as easy as possible. So this is 7 simple steps. Obviously, there's a lot of phone calls in there. There's some emails. There's some paperwork. There's some extra things that are not laid out word for word in this process, okay? And different states have different rules. But in general, this is a really quick 1 through 7 set of steps that you can go by and kind of expect for the process to go in that order, or very similarly. So I hope that this has been helpful. If there is anything else you guys want to see, or if you want me to dive into any of these topics a little bit more and things to do or not to do, then please reach out. I am happy to record those for you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found value in this video. And if you did, please don't hesitate to give me a thumbs up or a subscribe. It is very encouraging to see those come through on my notifications. All right, I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.